Ever thought of the US as a reckless spender? Well, the IMF seems to think so. Now, imagine the United States as that one friend we all have. You know the one? The friend who gets their first credit card and suddenly they're buying rounds at the bar, treating everyone to dinner, and shopping like they've won the lottery. That's the US right now, according to the International Monetary Fund. But unlike our friend, who might face a stern talking to from their parents or a harsh reality check when the bill comes due, the US is staring down the barrel of some pretty serious consequences. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen paints a grim picture. She warns of mass unemployment, payment failures, and an endless rise in interest rates. Sounds like fun, right? It's like watching a slow-motion car crash. But instead of cars, it's the world's largest economy. And what's the US's response to this? They're like that same friend, shrugging off the warnings and saying, "I'll pay it off eventually." But this isn't a late-night taco run we're talking about. This is the national debt. And it's ballooning faster than a hot air balloon in a helium factory. The IMF is like the worried parent in this scenario, stepping up its warnings and essentially telling the US to cut up their credit card. But will they listen? Or will they keep spending like there's no tomorrow? And while we're on the topic of spending, let's not forget about the potential impacts. We're talking missed military and social security payments, government layoffs, household payment defaults, and a collapse in credit markets. It's like a domino effect of financial disaster, all because the US can't resist that shiny new military jet or that expensive social program. So next time you see the US splurging on yet another $1 trillion budget bill, remember, they're not just burning through cash, they're playing with fire, and the rest of the world is left wondering who's going to get burned. If the US was a person, their credit score would probably be in the negatives by now. Unlike a hot air balloon, the US debt seems to be rising without any signs of coming down. Now, if you've ever been part of a family budget meeting, you'll probably relate to the ongoing debate in Congress. They're contemplating whether to raise the borrowing limit, with proposals including significant government spending cuts. It's a bit like a family arguing over whether to cut back on Netflix or Disney Plus to save money. The stakes are high, and everyone has their favorite shows. At the heart of this debate is a real sense of urgency. The US Treasury, acting like a parent trying to keep the household afloat, is employing extraordinary measures to avoid an immediate fiscal crisis. You can imagine Uncle Sam shaking his piggy bank, looking for loose change, or rummaging through the sofa cushions for any forgotten dollar bills. But let's face it, these are temporary solutions at best. On one hand, we have the Treasury Secretary sounding like a stern parent, warning of catastrophic consequences if we don't meet our debt obligations. On the other hand, we have lawmakers acting like teenagers with a credit card, debating whether to raise the borrowing limit or not. It's a high-stakes game of chicken, with the world economy watching from the sidelines. The situation is so intense that even the International Monetary Fund has stepped in with a warning. It's like your next-door neighbor telling you to get your act together before your house gets repossessed. So what's next? No one really knows. But one thing is certain. The US debt is not just a number. It's a complex issue that impacts every American From Wall Street to Main Street, it affects our economy, our national security, and our future. If the US debt was a movie, it would be a never-ending sequel of fiscal crises. And let's be honest, that's one sequel no one is looking forward to. If you thought the US was having a tough time, wait till you hear about Egypt's chicken feet saga. Now, there's a sentence you don't hear every day. But seriously, let's dive into this tale of two economies. Picture this. The US, the world's largest economy, is grappling with the specter of a debt default. It's a situation so dire that the Treasury Secretary is warning of catastrophic consequences, including mass unemployment and a perpetual rise in interest rates. It's like the climax of a Hollywood blockbuster, but without the popcorn. Now, let's switch scenes to Egypt. This nation is also in the throes of an economic crisis, with soaring food prices and a record currency devaluation. So what's the government's solution? Encouraging citizens to eat chicken feet as a cost-saving measure. Yes, you heard that right. Chicken feet. It's a far cry from the land of milk and honey, isn't it? But here's the kicker. While the US is worrying about missed military and social security payments, Egypt is trying to implement structural reforms and reduce the military's role in the economy. It's like comparing apples and, well, chicken feet. Now, we're not suggesting that the US should start advocating for instant noodles as the next dietary staple. But it does put things into perspective, doesn't it? The US might be facing a debt crisis, but at least it's not facing a poultry pedicure crisis. It's easy to get swept up in the doom and gloom of economic news. But sometimes a bit of humor can help us see the silver linings. Or in this case, the chicken feet. So next time you overspend, just remember, at least you're not the US government, or worse, having to eat chicken feet to save money. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It will help our channel and we can publish more content